This harmless habit is slowly killing your productivity. You think it's small, you think it's nothing, but it's the reason your days feel busy, yet nothing meaningful gets done. The truth is that these failures ruin most people's lives, and the longer you ignore it, the harder it grips you. But if you can see it for what it ice and break for you, can unlock a level of clarity, momentum, and progress you've never experienced before. So let's begin with how this habit sneaks into your life without you even noticing. The silent trap, it begins in ways so subtle you almost laugh at the idea that it could be dangerous. You wake up, you reach for your phone. Just one notification, just one message. You tell yourself, it won't take long. You'll get to work right after. But minutes pass. 10, 20, sometimes more. And by the time you finally look up, you don't even remember what you were supposed to be doing. That's how this habit works. It never kicks down the door and announces, I'm here to steal your time. It slips in quietly, disguised as something harmless. A quick scroll, a quick check, a quick distraction you think you can afford. But let me ask you this, how many of those quick moments do you think you've had today? How many times have you told yourself, it'll just take a second, only to lose 10 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe even an hour? The trap is invisible because it feels so normal. Everyone around you does it, your friends do it, your coworkers do it, it's built into the rhythm of modern life. You don't question it because it feels like breathing, but that's exactly why it's so deadly. Here's the brutal truth. It's not the big failures that ruin your productivity. It's the tiny leaks you ignore every single day. The seconds that turn into minutes. The minutes that turn into hours. The hours that slowly shape your life into something you never wanted. Think about it. A day wasted feels painful, you notice it. But a minute wasted, you shrug it off. And that's the problem. Because a minute wasted here and a minute wasted there doesn't feel like much in the moment. But add it up, a few minutes an hour, a few hours a day. By the end of the week, you've lost days. By the end of the year, you've lost months. And yet you don't feel like you've lost anything. You were busy, you were engaged, you were keeping up. That's why this habit is so dangerous. It lets you feel productive while secretly stealing the very thing you can never get back, time. Picture this, you sit down to do important work. You know what you should be doing, but before you begin, you check your email. One message catches your eye, then another. Then you see a notification on your phone. Suddenly, your mind is spinning in 5 different directions. You close the apps and tell yourself, okay, now ill focus. But the focus doesn't come. The energy's gone. Why? Because you didn't just lose the minutes you spent distracted. You lost the momentum you needed to go deep. You lost the clarity you had before you broke your own flow. And now the work feels harder, heavier, like pushing a boulder uphill. That's the silent trap. It's not just about time, it's about energy, focus, attention. You can work for 10 hours and feel like you got nothing done, not because you didn't try, but because this harmless habit kept pulling you back into the shallow end. And here's the cruel irony. This habit doesn't feel bad while you're doing it. It feels good. It gives you tiny hits of dopamine, tiny bursts of relief, tiny moments of escape, which is why you keep going back. You don't realize until later when the day is gone, when the project is still unfinished, when your goals are still waiting that it was all just another form of self-sabotage. Let me put it plainly. This habit thrives because you underestimate it. You don't fear it. You don't fight it. You let it live in the background, stealing more from you than failure ever could. And that's why so many people stay stuck. Not because they don't work hard, not because they don't want more, but because they bleed out their focus one harmless moment at a time. And if you've ever ended a day wondering, why do I feel so tired but so behind? Why do I work so much but move so little? Now you know the answer. The trap got you, again. But here's the part that should scare you most. This habit isn't just stealing your hours. It's rewiring your brain. Every time you give in, you're training yourself to crave distraction, to avoid depth, to run from the work that actually matters. And once your brain learns that pattern, breaking free becomes harder and harder. So the question isn't, did you waste time today? The question is, what is this habit doing to your brain right now? Because the truth is, it's not just stealing your time, it's hijacking the very way you think. How it hijacks your brain, you think you are in control. You think you can glance at your phone, check one email, skim through one notification, and then snap back into focus like nothing happened. But your brain doesn't work that way. Every time you give in to this habit, even for a few seconds, you're teaching your mind a dangerous lesson. Distraction is the default. And once that lesson sticks, it changes everything. Here's what really happens. Inside your head, your brain runs on patterns. It thrives on repetition. It doesn't care about what's good for you in the long run. It cares about what feels rewarding right now. So when you open your phone, when you refresh your inbox, when you scroll just for a minute, your brain rewards you with dopamine. Dopamine is that little hit of pleasure, that spark of satisfaction, that sense that something new and exciting just arrived. And once your brain learns where to get it, it wants more. Every check, every scroll, every interruption becomes a microdose of stimulation. It feels harmless, but it's not. Because you're not just losing minutes, you're rewiring your brain to crave shallow work over deep focus. Think of it like this. Imagine you're building a muscle. Every time you lift weights, you make that muscle stronger. Now flip the script. Every time you indulge the harmless habit, you're training another muscle, the muscle of distraction. And day by day, that muscle grows until it dominates everything else. Suddenly, sitting still and focusing feels impossible. Your mind twitches. Your hand reaches for your phone without permission. You tell yourself, just one more look, and you don't even realize you've surrendered. And the more you give in, the more your ability to concentrate weakens. That's the devastating part. You're not just losing the time you spend distracted. You're losing the very capacity to work deeply. That's why you can spend an entire day working, bouncing between emails, texts, calls, notifications, endless tabs, and still end the day feeling like you accomplished nothing. Because you weren't building momentum. You were living in fragments. Your attention was stolen in pieces until there was nothing left to give. Let me paint you a picture. You sit down to do meaningful work. You have a project, a goal, something that really matters. For the first few minutes, you're fine. But then the itch begins. You feel that pull. What if there's a new email? What if there's a message waiting? What if I just check real quick? You try to resist, but the itch gets louder. You give in, you check, you scroll, you click. And when you come back, the focus is gone. The flow is broken. Now the work feels heavier, harder, almost unbearable. So you tell yourself, it'll take another quick break. And the cycle repeats. Sound familiar? That's not weakness. That's conditioning. Your brain has been trained to chase noise instead of depth. And here's the terrifying part. The longer you let it continue, the more permanent it becomes. Neural pathways, the highways in your brain that control your habits, get stronger the more you use them. Every time you give in, you're paving that road a little smoother, a little faster, a little harder to escape. So now, even when you want to focus, even when you sit down with the best intentions, your brain drags you back to the distraction highway. Not because you're lazy, not because you lack discipline, but because your brain has been hijacked. That's why deep focus feels like a battle. It's not just that your mind wanders, it's that your brain has been rewired to prefer wandering. It finds stillness uncomfortable. It finds silence unbearable. It craves interruption the way a smoker craves a cigarette. And the cost? It's not just hours lost, it's creativity lost, momentum lost, breakthroughs lost. Because those only come when you're fully present, fully focused, fully alive in the work. And if you can't hold that space for yourself, you'll never touch the depth where real progress lives. When was the last time you had an hour of pure, undisturbed focus? An hour where your mind felt sharp, clear, unstoppable? For most people, it's been weeks, months, maybe even years. And the reason isn't lack of time. It's because the habit has robbed you of the ability to go deep. And here's the cruelest trick of all. This habit convinces you that you're in control. You tell yourself you'll only check once. You tell yourself you'll stop whenever you want. But every time you say yes, you strengthen the chain. Every time you give in, you make it harder to resist the next time. Until one day, you're not checking out of choice, you are checking out of compulsion. This is why you feel scattered. This is why your energy feels fractured. This is why your progress feels slower than it should be. It's not because you don't work hard enough. It's because your brain has been rewired to prefer noise over focus. And that's why the habit is so dangerous. It doesn't just kill productivity, it kills potential. Because when distraction becomes your default, you never go deep enough to find the breakthroughs that could change your life. You stay stuck on the surface, chasing shallow wins, never building the future you're capable of. This is the silent war happening inside your head every single day. And unless you reclaim control, this harmless habit won't just steal your hours. It will steal the person you could have become. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. If this habit is strong enough to rewire your brain, how do the most productive people in the world fight back? When the habit nearly destroyed great minds, you might think this habit only traps ordinary people, that the smartest, most disciplined, most successful people on the planet somehow rise above it. But that's not true. Even great minds fall into the same trap. Even people you admire, the ones who build companies, write books, invent technology, change the world, they've battled this habit too. And for some, it nearly destroyed everything they worked for. Take me. People see me now and imagine a machine of discipline. They think I wake up, build rockets, run Tesla, tweet memes, and do it all without missing a beat. But that's not how it started. When I first came to America, I was sleeping on a futon in a cramped apartment, working on my first company, Zip2. My days were jammed with meetings, endless lines of code, emails, more code, almost no sleep, and then repeat. From the outside, it looked like relentless hustle. From the inside, it was chaos. I was drowning in the same harmless habits you face every day, constant reacting, constant checking, constant busyness. I worked 12, sometimes 14 hours a day. But late at night, when I finally stopped and looked back, I had to admit something brutal. I hadn't actually made progress. I was busy, yes, but busy doesn't mean effective. And that's the same trap you fall into. You spend hours doing, but you don't move forward. You confuse motion with progress. You confuse reaction with creation. And just like I did back then, you end the day exhausted, but stuck in the exact same place. Now imagine this. Rockets exploding live on television. Tesla on the edge of collapse. The stakes couldn't have been higher. And yet, even then, my real enemy wasn't just competition or failure. It was distraction, the constant pull to put out fires instead of solving what actually mattered. That's when I had the turning point. I realized I didn't need more hours. I needed one protected hour, one clean hour every single day, with no interruptions, no noise, no distractions, just focus on the single problem that mattered most. That became my rule, the 1 hour rule, and it worked. Not because I worked harder, I was already working like a maniac. It worked because I stopped, letting the harmless habit of distraction dictate my life. I aimed before I fired. I created before I reacted. And here's what I want you to see. This principle isn't unique to me. You'll find it everywhere. Writers carving out one sacred hour every morning to put words on a page. Athletes dedicating one focused hour to master a single skill. Inventors blocking 1 hour to think instead of react. The pattern is clear. The harmless habit destroys those who underestimate it. But those who rise above it, those who build their defenses and reclaim their focus, they unlock results that look almost superhuman. So here's the point. If even the greatest minds on the planet are vulnerable, what makes you think you're immune? You're not. The habit is already inside your life, waiting, stealing, rewiring, and unless you fight back, it will do to you what it almost did to me. But there's hope, because once you recognize the pattern, once you see how this habit destroys potential, you can flip the script. You can do what I did, what countless others have done, reclaim one sacred hour and starve the habit of its power. And that raises the next big question. If this principle is universal, if great minds and everyday people alike are vulnerable, then what's the exact pattern that separates those who stay trapped from those who break free? The pattern behind success. When you look at the people who rise to the top of their fields, it's tempting to think they were just born different, smarter, more disciplined, gifted with something the rest of us don't have. But the truth is far less glamorous. The truth is, they face the same trap you face every day, the same harmless habit pulling at their attention, the same distractions whispering in their ears. The difference isn't that they never felt it. The difference is how they responded to it. If you study their lives closely, you'll see a pattern. Successful people don't leave their productivity to chance. They don't let the harmless habit decide how their day will unfold. They build walls around their focus. They create systems that protect their time the way a fortress protects its king. And while everyone else leaks energy in 1,000 directions, they channel theirs like a laser. Almost every great book you've ever read was written the same way, not in bursts of endless inspiration, not in 16-hour marathons, but in small, consistent blocks of focus. Writers sat down at the same hour each morning, guarded that time like it was sacred, and stacked page after page while the rest of the world wasted their prime hours on distractions. What looks like genius from the outside is simply consistency and protection on the inside. Athletes follow the same path. Do you think they master their craft by scattering their attention? No. They isolate one move, one skill, one weakness, and they drill it sometimes for just an hour a day. But that hour, done with focus, compounds into mastery, while the distracted remain average. Even scientists and inventors knew this truth. Einstein didn't spend every waking hour chasing genius. He carved out time to think, deeply and without interruption. Thomas Edison had rituals to protect his focus. Marie Curie guarded her blocks of obsessive clarity. The names change, but the pattern repeats. Intentional focus wins, harmless distraction loses. The painful reality is that most people underestimate this. They think the difference between success and failure is talent or luck. or connections, but it's not. The real difference is whether you allow the harmless habit to dominate you or whether you starve it by protecting your focus. And that's the payoff. One focused hour, protected daily, outperforms 10 distracted hours every single time. That's the pattern. It's not more time. It's not more effort. It's not grinding until you collapse. It's focus. Pure, deliberate, protected focus. And this is why some people climb higher in a year than others do in a decade. They are not working more, they are working differently. They've seen the trap for what it is and they refuse to feed it. But here's the question you have to answer for yourself. If success really is this simple, why do so few people achieve it? Why do so many stay trapped in distraction while only a few rise above it? The answer is simple. Most people never identify the habit that's stealing their focus. They never name it. They never confront it. They just keep pretending it isn't there. And that's where we go next, because if you want to reclaim your productivity, you need to start by spotting your own harmless habit. Spotting your harmless habit, the first step to breaking free, is awareness, because you can't fight what you can't see. And the truth is, most people never stop to notice the exact habit that's bleeding away their focus. They just wake up, fall into the cycle, and wonder why every day feels the same. If you want to take back your productivity, you need to shine a light on the one habit that's been hiding in plain sight. Maybe your habit is just checking notifications. You tell yourself you're staying updated, connected, informed. But every time you check, you're pulled into someone else's priorities. One email leads to 10 more. One text leads to a conversation you didn't plan for. Suddenly, an hour is gone and your workday hasn't even begun. Or maybe your habit is multitasking. You believe you are being efficient by juggling 5 things at once. You convince yourself that bouncing between tabs, switching between messages, or keeping half an eye on your phone while working makes you productive. But here's the reality. Multitasking isn't efficiency, it's fragmentation. Every switch costs you focus, and every switch weakens your ability to go deep. What feels like productivity is actually your brain stuck in first gear, revving hard but going nowhere. For some people, the habit looks even smaller. It's the just one video habit, the just one quick scroll habit, the just 1 minute habit that always turns into 20. It's sneaky because it doesn't look destructive in the moment. You laugh it off, you shrug it off, you think, what's the harm? But here's the truth. The harm is never in the single moment. The harm is in the repetition. Every single harmless moment chains together until your day is broken into fragments you can never piece back together. And here's the cruel twist: the habit often disguises itself as something good. You tell yourself you're networking, staying sharp, keeping up with news, or staying available for emergencies. But deep down, you know the truth. Most of what you are reacting to isn't urgent. Most of it isn't necessary. And almost none of it is worth trading your best hours for. So how do you spot your harmless habit? Pay attention to the moments, right before you start real work. What do? Do you reach for your phone? Do you open your inbox? Do you skim through apps before you get serious? That's where the habit lives. It doesn't show up when you're already focused. It shows up in those fragile moments before you even begin. Because if it can steal your start, it can steal your whole day. And once you see it clearly, you can't unsee it. You start noticing how often it happens. You start feeling the weight of the hours slipping away. You start realizing that it's not harmless at all. It's the quiet thief robbing you of the life you want. And here's the shift. Once you name the habit, you strip away its power. You stop treating it like background noise. You start treating it like the enemy it really is. Because that's what it is: not a harmless quirk, not a little distraction, but the enemy of your focus, your momentum, and your future. But spotting the habit is only the beginning. Awareness alone won't save you. You need a way to dismantle it. You need a system strong enough to protect you when the temptation strikes, because the habit won't go quietly. It will fight to stay alive. And if you're not ready, it will drag you back into the same cycle all over again. That's why the next step is crucial. You need to build a defense so strong, so unshakable, that this habit has nowhere left to hide. Breaking free. The 3-layer protection system. Now that you've spotted your harmless habit, the battle shifts. Awareness is powerful, but it isn't enough. Because here's the hard truth. Even when you know exactly what's stealing your time, you'll still feel the pull. You'll still hear that whisper in your head, just check for a second. It won't matter. That's why most people relapse. They notice the habit, they try to resist, but they don't have protection. And without protection, the habit always finds a way back in. So how do you break free? You build walls around your focus, not flimsy walls, not temporary fixes. A system strong enough to withstand the constant attacks of distraction. I call it the three-layer protection system. Because like a fortress, your focus needs layers of defense. The first layer is ritual. Every morning at the same time, in the same place, you begin your protected hour of work. Same chair, same desk, same start. This isn't random, it's training. Just like a rocket has a launch sequence, your mind needs a signal. This is focus time. When you repeat the same ritual daily, your brain learns to drop into deep work faster, almost automatically. The ritual strips away hesitation and replaces it with momentum. The second layer is environment. Look around you. Is your desk cluttered? Is your phone in sight? Do you keep 10 tabs open while telling yourself, yell focus? Your environment is either working for you or against you. If your brain sees chaos, it feels chaos. If your brain sees temptation, it craves temptation. So make your environment beg for focus. Clear the clutter, remove the cues that trigger the habit. Keep only one object in front of you, the mission of the day. When your surroundings align with your intention, focus becomes the default instead of the exception. The third layer is boundary. This is the hardest one, but it's the most powerful. You need to declare your protected, our non-negotiable. That means no interruptions, no exceptions, no just this once. You tell the people around you, family, coworkers, teammates, that this hour is off limits. You tell yourself the same thing, and here's the surprising part. Once you respect your own boundary, others begin to respect it too, because people mirror how you treat your time. If you treat it as sacred, they will too. Now here's the tension. Even with all three layers, the habit will try to sneak back in. It will disguise itself as urgent. It will tempt you with guilt. It will whisper, what if you miss something important? That's when you remind yourself of the truth. Nothing is more important than this hour. Nothing. Because if you can't give yourself one uninterrupted hour, you'll spend the rest of your life handing your attention over to everyone else. And here's the payoff. When the three layers work together, ritual, environment, boundary, the habit loses its grip. The itch weakens, the pull fades. Focus stops feeling like a fight and starts feeling like freedom. And once you taste that freedom, you realize just how much of your life the habit was stealing. But breaking free is only half the battle, because even if you protect your hour, there's another trap waiting for you working hard on the wrong thing. And if you fall into that trap, you'll still end the day exhausted, but unfulfilled. That's why the next step is critical. You need to learn how to aim before you fire. Aim before you fire. Protecting your focus is powerful, but it's not enough. You can sit for an hour with perfect concentration and still walk away empty-handed if you aim at the wrong thing. And this is the trap most people fall into. They finally escape distraction, but then pour their best energy into shallow tasks that don't matter. Productivity isn't just about focus. Productivity is about direction. Firing a rocket without coordinates, ISNT, progresses chaos. The same is true for your time. Without clarity, you'll burn energy and stay in the same orbit. So how do you aim before you fire? You start with one question. What am I pretending not to know? That question cuts through excuses. Deep down, you already know the work you've been avoiding, the problem you've postponed, the one thing that, if solved, would change everything else. That's where your hour belongs. And here's the truth. When you combine protection with clarity, that 1 hour becomes unstoppable. It stops being just time on the clock. It becomes momentum. It becomes progress. It becomes the engine of your future. So tomorrow morning, before your phone, before your inbox, before the harmless habit pulls you back, claim 1 hour, protect it, aim it, and spend it on the thing that matters most. Because this harmless habit has already stolen enough from you, enough time, enough focus, enough of your life. Now it's time to take it back.